Someone asked me recently what my thoughts were on dating outside of my social class, and I answered that I would quite literally never do that, and here's why. For the purpose of this question, I took social class to sort of mean like socioeconomic class, so my economic status, maybe around how much money I make, the social status, like perhaps the caliber of school that I went to and the spaces that I found myself in as a result. And
we interrupt this program to prescribe you with 1,000 milligrams of red vitamins.
Right here, right now. It's the right time, It's the right sound. Right now. Tell the whole pipe down. Tell that nigga pipe down.
What's good, shout around? It's your boy Reclaim Your Throne coming at you with another crazy video. But first, my goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. You already know. Reclaim your throne. Alright guys, so this is going to be a one topic video. And we're going to go over a woman who, she's college educated. It sounds like she's making a lot of money. And she's 23 years old and she's talking about not dating outside of her socioeconomic class, okay, or status, or however you want to call it. And it just brings up the point that we have been speaking about in the red vitamin community oftentimes, that a lot of modern women are outpacing men when it comes to the opportunities provided. And, you know, I'm not saying that she didn't work hard for it. Obviously, this woman in particular, it appears that she did work hard for where she is at in life. But the reality is a lot of men are not going to be in the same situation and be given the same opportunities that she was given at their age. So she's going to outpace a lot of men her age. Now, what does that mean? That means that she's probably going to be regulated to dating men who are much older than her, who are able to keep up with her socioeconomically. But that also brings in a different element when it comes to dating. Now, I don't really know her story that much. I peeped at her social medias a little bit. It looks like she's pretty big on social media, and you know what I say about women who are big on social media. I wouldn't be surprised if she had a sugar daddy as well. But I will give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she's making money legitimately through social media marketing and all this kind of stuff. Okay, let's just say that that is true. In that case, then we just have to evaluate her based off of what she's saying. And it really just sounds like, you know, she's definitely looking for a guy who is quote unquote on her level. But we know that when women do that, that pretty much puts them in the top percentile of men, not even factoring in how that man looks. I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up dating a rapper from New York because she's at NYU. Oh, no, she's at Columbia. But she's in New York City. And I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up dating a rapper or some hood ninja like that. Y'all know, I think her name's Kayla or something like that. She's a social media personality / I don't know, marketing person. And she ended up dating a rapper and a Thug Max Alpha Simp because those are the only men who end up having the same amount of money that she does, or that, you know, these types of women will have at their age. But they are severely stunted and they suffer from arrested development. And, you know, they don't have the intellectual prowess or business acumen that these women have. But a lot of sisters, particularly black women, here's their rationale: I will substitute book smarts for street smart, which honestly, it really doesn't make that much sense, because it's not like you can't be street smart if you are book smart as well. And these Thug Max Alpha Simps, they're not even street smart. They're literally posting, you know, they'll go pick up a pound of weed and then post with it online. That's not street smart. You know, they'll go buy a gun with a serial number scraped off and then post it online and then flick it at the damn camera. That's not street smart. But these women will still deal with them because they have the Thug Max Alpha Simp persona, and that is the persona that is marketed of black men into the mainstream media. So let's get into this let's get into this video and break it down.
Someone asked me recently what my thoughts were on dating outside of my social class, and I answered that I would quite literally never do that, and here's why. For the purpose of this question, I took social class to sort of mean like socioeconomic class, so my economic status, maybe around how much money I make, the social status, like perhaps the caliber of school that I went to and the spaces that I found myself in as a result. And
okay, so she went to an Ivy League school in Columbia, okay, and not Columbia, South Carolina, but the Columbia University. It's an Ivy League school. It's still a woke school. So, I mean, honestly, Ivy Leagues aren't what they were in the past, okay? Now, if you went to an Ivy League school in the 60s, 70s, hell, even the early 90s, then I'd be like, okay, word. Well, I think you're a smart person just based off of the fact that you were accepted to this Ivy League school and that you were able to graduate, with some type of degree. Now, apparently she's going to law school, so congrats to her, shout out to her. But the reality is Ivy League schools are not what they used to be. They really aren't. And most of the time you're just going to get doused with woke propaganda and you're going to think like an NPC and you're going to think that there are, 100,000 genders and you're going to think that men can be women and women can be men and all that kind of stuff. And in my opinion, that actually makes you stupid. Actually makes you dumb. It doesn't actually make you smart just because you went to an Ivy League school, but you believe in all these fantasies.
the people I found myself surrounded by. And then also like the lifestyle I created for myself, that's a combination of like the economic status and the school and the spaces and all of that. I think you guys get how that fits together. It's important to note that I did not grow up with a lot of money. My father went to prison when I was 4 years old. During that time and all the time after, like my mom has been a public school teacher, so
I mean, single mother raised, probably had the strong independent propaganda, drilled into her head. And a lot of times when you have a single mother coming from the black community, she, and a lot of sisters will tell you this who have siblings, they coddle their men, and that's why they end up, becoming thug max alpha simps, and then they demand the utmost out of their daughters. Okay, so they coddle their sons, and then they're a lot more strict and demand the utmost when it comes to success from their daughters. And that's why a lot of the women are outpacing the men in the black community, because the expectations are a lot different. And then the burden that the parents, or i.e. parent, because she didn't have, I'm not saying she didn't have a father, but her father was in prison. The parent is not putting that pressure on her or on the young man to succeed, but she's putting pressure on the daughter to succeed. And I guess it's because she can relate more, and she doesn't want the daughter to end up like her, single mom, having to do it all by herself, all this stuff. But she's admitting to not growing up with money, and I can commend anybody who doesn't come from wealth and able to create a life for themselves that is, flourishing.
They don't make a lot of money. When we first moved to Atlanta, we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 7 people sharing 1 bathroom. Like, I literally shared the bottom bunk of a bunk bed with my second oldest brother, and then my oldest brother and my sister-in-law were on the top bunk of the...
Okay, so you hear brother, the second oldest brother, sister-in-law. Honestly, it sounds like she might be African. So, I mean, is she really FBA? Do we have the same struggles? I don't know, because most FBAs are not living all jam-packed with their in-laws. Okay, that's more of a African thing. That's more of an immigrant thing. That's so she could potentially be a tether. That could be something, and I'm not saying that makes her less of anything or anything like that. But what it means is that as it pertains to the Black American struggle, we're at odds, right? There is a diaspora war or battle, however you want to call it, going on in the Black community that seeks to separate FBA freedmen, Black American men and women from, Africans or Caribbeans or people who have traveled to the United States looking for a better life. So in my opinion, that's probably where she's going to align ethnically. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just pointing it out for context.
That bed. Okay, we were not a Jack and Jill family, okay? Money was not we didn't have a lot of it. So knowing my circumstances, when I was like 12 years old, I made this vision board for myself. My mom actually found recently in her storage unit. I had basically carved out my entire life, like what I was gonna do in high school to make sure I could get into an Ivy League college, what I was gonna do at that college to make sure I could get into a certain law school or buy a certain car and have a certain apartment or home. Like all of these things I had planned out, and I knew that because my family didn't have the same financial resources someone else's did or access to certain people to get me into doors, I had to open them myself. So that's what I did. I created an insane amount of opportunities for myself by literally putting my blood, sweat, and tears into everything I did. From the time that I was 12 years old until now, like 23, I was so intentional about every decision I made, whether it was not dating in high school or not drinking or prioritizing school or trying to get different scholarships. I did everything in my power to make sure that the life I was creating for myself while I was kind of stepping into the autonomy that I would have as a young adult, even as a teenager, going into a young adult, being able to create the life I want to, that I was doing everything in my power to have something different than what I had growing up. And of course, I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to stay up all night applying to scholarships to earn over $500,000 to go to college. I didn't have to apply to Columbia and do all the things that is required to get into a school like that, but I wanted to because I wanted to have a certain life. Even when it comes to content, when I started making content, I was taking 19 credit hours. I was working 3 days a week in office at my internship, but then I was also working with a tech startup virtually, and then I also started doing content, and it was probably one of the hardest times in my life, but again, I knew that I wanted to set myself up for greatness, and that is what was required. So knowing that, understanding how much work I put into the person that I wanted to be and the life I wanted to have feels so unfair to me now, and also to my younger self who was just so forward thinking and like put so many things on the back burner to prioritize the life that I would have right.
So, I mean, you can kind of see that she's very much into herself, very much a solipsistic attitude. And I'm not saying that there's anything necessarily wrong with the way that she is talking to herself, but she's definitely talking about herself in third person, which shows a slight tad of narcissism, even though men are declared the narcissists of the world, when in all actuality there are way more narcissistic women than men. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not mad at her accomplishments. I'm just speaking to it from a dating space, and she's even saying that her options are going to be limited based off of the amount of success that she has garnered up to this point in her life. Now, I mean, as far as the content creation goes, we know that the algorithms are going to boost women, especially if they are just towing the line when it comes to the mainstream media narrative. She's probably a Democrat. She's probably a Kamala supporter. She's going to get boosted in the algorithm. So, I mean, we're definitely playing at a different level, and a lot of these chicks have an advantage on their male peers because as a man, unless you're providing significant value, you're not going to get popular on social media. I don't care how you look, period. You're not going to get popular on social media unless you're, just making a fool of yourself or providing significant value. It has to be one of the two. So we know that her social media rise probably was not as contentious as her educational rise. Let's keep going.
Right now, for me to date someone who cannot give me the life that I've always wanted, like they can't match it. I don't even need you to give it to me because I've already gotten it for myself, but if you can't be right there with me, it's not fair to me to lower my standards or accept certain things that I knew I never wanted to, which is why I worked so hard on myself.
And, that's fine, but is it realistic? Probably not. And then another factor that goes into this is a lot of women are looking at her story and they genuinely are living vicariously through her, and they believe that they are her and they should have the same standards as this woman because she's highly successful and she's done this and she's done that and she's paved a way for herself. So she should be able to, or that woman in particular who's looking at her story should be able to do the same thing. I'm not saying you can't do the same thing, but you're in a way different scenario. And a lot of these chicks who got 2-3 kids, they're looking at this woman and they wish that that this was them and therefore they adjust their standards to the same standards, or if not more standards than this woman would have, when those women actually don't deserve it. So not only is she kind of really I would say she's very much in self-serving in this video, which I don't really have a problem with. If you've accomplished things in life, you should be able to take pride in those things, right? But I think that it could be misleading to other women who are not in the same level or space that she is, and they're demanding the same things out of a man or a partner.
Just so that I can be with you. It is not lost on me the fact that a lot of guys my age are just not going to have what I have, because I'm in a very unique position to make an insane amount of money for someone my age. And that's where the other part of the socioeconomic status comes in. I need to at least see that you have worked as hard as I have to put yourself into certain spaces, to open up certain doors for yourself to...
Okay, so she's saying you have to work as hard as she has to put yourself in certain spaces and open up doors. I'm telling you right now, as a man, those doors are not going to open up for you just because you're a man. Now, as a woman, especially with the DEI, affirmative action movements that, probably benefited her significantly, now they're kind of throttling it down. But before, it was a big determinant on, the percentage or amount of minorities that are getting into these Ivy League colleges, that are getting these jobs and having opportunities. Your path is going to be significantly more difficult. Take a black man, same age, trying to do the things that she has done. You're applying for these grants and they're not going through because you're a black man and you're not a black female. See, black men threaten the status quo, black women do not. So these institutions are going to be more likely, like we saw Goldman Sachs do I think it was $1 billion for black women and stuff like that. They're doing these things for black women because black women don't challenge the status quo. They toe the line with the mainstream narrative. But black men challenge the status quo because we are able to think outside of ourselves, and we do have a mind of our own. And we can also think outside of our own race. Now, we all know that there are a lot of single mother raised black men who cannot think outside of their race. And I would attribute that to the influence of the woman in their household. But if you were raised in a nuclear family as a black man, many such cases you will be able to think outside of yourself, outside of your race, and understand, hey, the struggles and the difficulties that you face are going to be a lot greater than what your female counterparts face on a day-to-day basis, on a educational basis, on an economic basis, so on and so forth.
Go to certain schools or whatever it is because you have this intrinsic ambition and drive, because you know that you also have your eyes set on the sort of lifestyle that I do, and that is what you're actively working towards every day. Not having that does not make you a bum. It doesn't make you undesirable. It doesn't make you an unattractive man or anything. It just makes you incompatible with me and the lifestyle that...
But let's keep it a buck. She's getting papped out by a Thug Max alpha simp. Come on. If she's not showing that she has a visible, successful boyfriend who does the same thing that she does on social media, not the same thing that she does, but is in the same socioeconomic class, if she's not presenting him, if she's not trying to show him off, if she's not posting him, if she is not revealing the fact that she's even saying that she is single, I mean, she's not a virgin, right? So who is she laying down with? See, this is another example of women saying something and doing another. Now, I'm not, saying that she's doing this, doing that. But, I mean, I looked at her Instagram and she was with Snoop Dogg and all this kind of stuff. So she's very much inclined to lean toward the Thug Max Alpha Simp personality. And yes, Snoop Dogg is a Thug Max Alpha Simp. So I wouldn't be surprised if she was also attracted to those types of men as well. And those are the men that she is probably actually laying down with, but not taking seriously in a relationship because they don't have the socioeconomic status that she does.
That I want to have. I appreciate the drive that I have and the confidence that has been instilled in me because of all the things I've been able to do for myself. And I really appreciate that in other potential partners as well. So if I'm really considering seriously dating someone, not just like a casual date, whatever, this is something that is a requirement for me. It's not like I hope or maybe I will. I've tried it before. I'm not doing it. This is what I require. And and I don't think it's a lot to ask. Shit, I asked it of myself at 12 and look at where I am.
So there you have it, guys. Just it's basically a perspective that you can look into when it comes to how these modern women are moving, especially in the black community. And I'm not going to say superiority complex that they have over black men, but what I am going to say is she definitely felt like she had to get that off her chest, and she definitely wanted to set an example for other women to follow in her footsteps. But me personally, I am predicting 50-year-old cat lady. I know it may sound extreme, but that's what I'm predicting based off of her demeanor, her attitude, her solipsism, and her unwillingness to change and accept that, yes, okay, maybe you might be a high level of socioeconomic status, but you may not be as attractive as the other women that the men in your category actually want. So you might not be, and I'm not saying that she's unattractive, I'm just saying you may not be what the men in your socioeconomic status want. And that is something that she needs to think about if she is serious about getting in a relationship. But right now, it doesn't really seem like she's serious about having a relationship. It just looks like she, wanted to come on here and tell everybody why you're not worthy to date her. So anyways, you already know what it is. It's your boy Reclaim Your Throne. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Send your relationship question email down below with a screenshot of your CashApp so new opinion your ties, man. Y'all need to be on your marketing with the BS. You already know. Reclaim Your Throne.
Become an elite level athlete? Well, look no further. The Reclaim Your Throne Elite D1 training course is all you need to take your performance from subpar to the creme de la creme of athletes all around the world. The purpose of this course is to give you a comprehensive weight training, speed, flexibility, recovery, and endurance program that is meant to prepare young athletes for collegiate and professional sports. This course is packed with over 2 hours of creative, action-packed lifts narrated and coached by yours truly to assure increased strength, speed, flexibility, recovery, and endurance. Hey, I get it. Training alone can be tough and can even make you feel misguided or somewhat unmotivated. But with this course, I walk you step by step through each and every lift to make sure you're using the proper form to prevent injuries and that you're hitting the correct muscle groups to render maximum results. So what are you waiting for? It's now or never. So go ahead and get the training course today so you too can reclaim your throne.